Now we have Jay Chollick, who I heard starting 2 years ago. Jay at the Nightingale Lounge. He reads at Nightingale. He reads at he reads now at the Revival Bar. He's read here at Cornelia Street Cafe. He's been an inspiration for younger poets since the late 90s, and I'm very honored that Jay is joining us this evening for politically engaged poetry. Let's hear it for Jay Chollick.
Thank you, Bernard. Am I heard? Thank you, Bernard, a true poetic force who makes things happen. A Friday night, and he, born Jewish, prepares, it's almost 8, to leave for services, which in itself is strange, as never does he think of God as anything but fairy tales. If God is this fantastical, he'd rather worship Andersen, Hans Christian A., or bow his head to Brothers Grimm. Their fairy tales, though violent or primitive, with ancient stains, did not inspire holocausts. When Hansel Forest marked his pebbled path, did simple-minded billions crawl in bliss to touch or kiss the sacred stones? Could Snow White raise a bloody cross, or Rumpelstiltskin die garroted martyr? What reason then to honor it? This Sabbath, held sacred as a bride, it seems absurd to him, the holiness, thee, thy, and thou, O heavenly, forever blabbed with blah blah, thy unending name, ad infinitum merciful, what utter rot. So then, when reason asks, if shaking head in disbelief is Friday's sole obeisance, then why, Judah's sour, scornful man, why godlessness, why are you here? He enters, swung through double doors to warmth, the throb of liveliness, the soaring sanctuary space surrounding him, and all the congregants, each filing through the wooden pews to sit 5756, adjacent in their solitude but not alone. The crumbled stone millennia is here, the wilderness and Canaan's cave and Judah, smashed by Babylon, the Persian hordes, the Grecians and the Syrians, the Roman fist. Here too the spiral trek of banishment. To Spain and Ethiopia, Jews flooding in, to Italy, to Turkey, Holland, Germany, to Austria, and to the east, to Poland and the czars of ice, to England, France, the downward wave of oceans into China's depths, to India, America, its hemisphere, the globe, crisscrossed, our tracks have circled endlessly. Bundled in hope, tight-knotted with anxiety, we've entered the verboten place, cold with queasy fear, or with a sturdy-legged achievement, crept past the dozing sentinels, touched with Einstein and Maimonides, the pinnacles of light, and with wisdom kneaded into common sense, those sages dotting history, oh rabbis, such humility. But scholarship was raised and burned in Poland, Lithuania, in Germany and Hungary. The books were trampled, torn to shreds. We were a stripped and crippled history. In boxcars bearing Buchenwald, sealed, stifled. In boxcars locked in beating fists. in dying eyes, shoved in and rumbling over Polish tracks toward massive ovens, concrete slab, measure to a dying inch made just for us. And for us their burning prophecy, Isaiah and Ezekiel and Jeremiah burning too, but we rose up a charred and vanished race, rose shield of David, blue and white in ancient desert Israel, and where we prayed, the deepest cave or Egypt's secret gathering, or murmured in some Spanish nook, or Vilnius in brilliancy, or here today, as comforting, these simple things rose over us, eternity, the oil lamp, the moral law carved bedrock 10, and how in parchment scrolls it wrote our life, blessing us with 7 candelabrum arms, so steadfast and immutable, with years in their ghostly thousands brooding over history, which in its rich solemnity this Sabbath joins. We gathered gently into it, the rabbi moving measured black, the cantors chanted offering, the congregation serene in its response, but only he among them feels unease, then fists, hears beating at the double door, sees history relentless face, its eye swooping back to horror only, snaking through centuries of flight, upheaving amplitude. He is the Jew Laocoon, enthralled to a coiling history, assaulted by dead lullabies and whirling concentration stripes, the Hasid's satin overcoat, in India a scrap that danced, the boiling shield Masada's sunstruck martyrdom. He is a Jew. He's nailed to it those gorgeous vanished centuries. He's nailed, chained. He is cemented in. He's buried in expulsion's sack. The visa torn. The Moors farewell and steerage reek. The heaving, he is part of it. He is part of it. He's BCE, immediate and far away. The future, he's its starless past. A dissident within the pew who cannot pray the tired words, the hollow ceremonious. He'll ring his prayers for memory, for promise that was murdered out, for innocence that rose in smoke. Pray Anne and Frank unbearable. Pray Dachau, Auschwitz, Birkenau, Treblinka, abscess thickening on the tongue. These are the holy hellish words. Say gas, say Zyklon B, say corpse, exhuming it, the corpse of memory with words. Bless their blistered flesh with them. Cry tearing prayers, scream out in hymnal agony that won't forget, not with amen, that battered word 6 million times wrung out of him.
L'chaim.
I cannot. Since my poetry no longer sings, it has no throat, I ask bleakness, my good friend, to walk with me. We two, he, whisper thin, expressionless, and I into such silence sunk that no word forms. How could this be? My poetry, which once into its milky ounce took sunlight in, and crucial rainbows, took in a swan but capsized it, gave vent to wrath, gave to propulsive joy such stinging force that concrete sang, and every noun in form's collapse turned blithering to an adjective I cannot write or think. I cannot from this world's deepest grave be Lazarus, for I have been with acid sprayed, beheaded, raped, left writhing in my gutted hut. I'm Daniel Pearl. And Matthew Shepard, I'm the Jew, 6 million burnt. I'm Africa. And what is left of Arctic things, my water, reef, my oiled bird so shaken with Alaskan rage, I die with them, the world and its indifference, mine. But how in conscience write of it? My poetry in bewildered flight does nothing for the polar bear. It cannot stop the melting of his ice. Save us, save us. It's what huddled into our dry minute. It's what we must with desperate rapidity strap onto us. Our cat, our elegiac Mozart, our precious book. Dark gods, the rivers bursting over us, the cars afloat. Our hill of bland, unmoving happiness is washed away, and words, trapped in the dark hole distance of our throats, too smashed to speak. We are in the daylight of minus sheen, new shifting things. No longer us as thick and grossly solid, no longer wet but pulverized and powder on the wind, all gone. Our sinews no longer intertwined with trees, or even the limitless horizon where an airy heart can fly. We call on churches now, but just their bells to speak for us, our nearly fatal weariness. Here in the thick of pleading, will our cat be saved? And not Mozart, but his melodious ghost. And a text brimming with sunlight, with summer or the death of light. Will they, book and music, will they survive? And will an ear be left to listen with, or an eye in its pure and steady meadow be left to read? What must occur? Present and accounted for, the poetry of spots, of spangles, bits of dirt, a waterfall. And if some senior beast is here inhabiting the page, or caged the oldest cockatoo, where somewhere in this poetry a blanket is the bed of youth, a baby's soft cheek bathed in tears. And isn't this where every candle's birthday lives? Becomes with breathless words a poem made rose-scented out of breath, a poetry that through the force of words will from its rigid grammar rise and fitfully become a cloud, a puff of such transcendent joy that even evanescence grins. How long can such pure sweetness last? For when the world, crisscrossed by splendor and unease, from its great structures shaken loose, when it intrudes, and driven mad by shadowed terrorists, their knife-like hands, and out of its murderous depths, their ingrained dogma trained to kill, its poetry's meek dynamite that deals with it, and with great bursts, each word with major leaping joyfully explodes, emerging fresh. Each hovel with cataclysmic shimmering is a palace now, and for the world-starved belly heaven's bread, a water's gorgeous wine for them, all gullets somehow crystal now. And into each throat's desert place an almost choking health will pour a modest size hysteria that needs to sing. Of how each woman with no baby torn with such sad shrieking out of her, who shining and horizonless is now set free. For the babe with secret pushing is imagined into birth, a sharing of creation's deepest urge by either sex. The pleasure part still central, say amen to that. But no one labors birthing it, amen again. And for the worlds that hiss or screech or chirping morning madness, they who hoot or growl extend this bloodless paradise to them with food to match, which in its abundant mimicry will fill with solid thought each starving mouth. And for all of us, an air of almost too painful purity to breathe. For only here in this radiant place where poems form can the book of suffering be absorbed and of its measureless, bitter history leave no trace.